Good morning. What's up, everybody? It's your boy Rudy, here to bring another podcast to you guys. Today I feel like I got a lot to say. We'll see where we go with this. But if you're new to the podcast, thanks for coming. Thanks for being here. Thanks for listening. My name is Rudy. I am here to talk about interesting things that about me and about things mountain bike, mostly me in mountain biking, and some cool things that I find in the internet that I find interesting that I like to ramble about. So this is the Rudy Rambles podcast, and here we go. So the first thing that I want to talk about is progression on a mountain bike, and I feel that everybody's progression goes some slower than others and some quicker than others, right? I feel like for the most part in mountain biking, I started mountain biking in 2019. The winter of 20, I should say, yeah, the winter of 2019, I picked up a very basic bike and was riding paved trails, and then I got into actual mountain biking, doing single track stuff where I came from in South Dakota. And once I found out that there was these places called mountain bike parks, I feel like that helped progress me a lot because, instead of riding just single track, now you get to find yourself in a mountain bike park that take the chairlift up, takes your bike up. If you don't know what a mountain bike park is, it's a park where there's a bunch of different trails for a bunch of different categories of skills, and if the ski lift access, then you have the opportunity of putting your bike on the chairlift and having chairlift take you and your bike to the top, and then you're just riding the trails down. There are mountain bike parks where you have to do the climbs that are very similar. They just don't have the ski lift access. Once I found that there was a ski lift access bike park close to me, it was about 4 hours away. I was hooked. I would wake up at 4. Excuse me. I would wake up at 4 a.m. Be there by 8. One of the first people on the lift, and I would ride until they close at 4, and then drive back home. Be back home around 8-ish. I did that, I don't know, 4 or 5 times in the summer of 2019. Yeah. And I felt like that just helped with my progression a ton, because you just get to have a lot more experiences going downhill the trail rather than climbing up, not wasting, but using a lot of your energy, and then going back down, riding one trail, and then repeating the process going back up. Now, where I was from, there really wasn't that kind of trail system. So you would basically just ride flat-ish single track stuff and in loops. The mountain bike park has individual trails. So you have a lot of different looks, and these trails vary from degrees of difficulties. So they have green, which is, kind of like your beginner, your blue, which is intermediate, and then they have black, which is more advanced, and then they have double black, which is more advanced than that, I guess. You can put it that way to make things simple. So being able to build your skill level up to the blacks is, what you want to do. And whenever you're not having to pedal up the hills, and you get to just, save all of your energy to go downhill, being at a bike park for, 6 to 8 hours is a lot better for progressing, I think, than, if you were to live in an area where you could only pedal up, your, especially in the beginning, your 12, maybe 22. I mean, if you live in an area where you got, 3,000 plus feet of a climb, like you're only going to do that once, maybe twice. Or if you can get what they call a shuttle, right, where you're at a certain location where you pay, or you have a friend that you can load your bike in like the back of the truck, and then they take you up to the top of the hill, meet you down at the bottom, and you can do that several times. That would also help with your progression too. Anyways, back to my own progression, right? So I feel like I progressed rather quickly in that sense because I was willing to go to these mountain bike parks that were 4-ish hours away, and ride them as much as I could, so that I could build up the confidence and the skills needed to jump, to ride features and things like that. Now, not all mountain bike parks are created equal, and some have different features than others, and that's kind of what I want to talk about a little bit besides progressing is the features, because progressing as a mountain biker, it comes at many different levels. You know what I mean? From, whenever you first start, just simply building up the endurance to ride some single track, without being too tired, being able to do it more than once a week, but then once you get to the areas where you have like, rollers that you can pump, or really rocky obstacles, or really narrow passageways, or tough climbs where you have to be in the right gear, the right speed, and keep it going. Like there's so many different levels of progressing in mountain biking, and if you're new to the mountain biking, you're probably figuring that out. But as you advance, you get to start doing these wall rides and cannon jumps and gap jumps, table jumps, and you start to learn how to do manuals and wheeling and all these other things. So the past 3 weeks, I've actually done quite a bit of progression in my own. So about 3 weeks ago, I went to this mountain bike park called 512 Freeride. I feel like it's purposefully built for progression, and these guys do amazing work on the trails. A lot of woodwork, a lot of shoveling, and the trails aren't like super long, like they're 30 to 45 second runs, but that also helps with being able to conserve your energy and take a nice 3 to 5 minute climb back up, so that you can do these 30 to 45 second runs over and over again throughout the day. So this 512 Freeride is the same as like most mountain bike trails and parks where they have green, blues, and blacks. And a lot of these are rated on what features and jumps and things that they have. So for example, their green line is just, everything's like really small as far as their tables go. The speed isn't like crazy fast. And the next line is still a green line, but it's a little bit bigger. You get to go a little bit faster. The tabletops are a little bit taller, a little bit longer. And there's a berm at the end that you get to practice on, a right hand berm. So that's pretty cool. Now advancing to the next one, the next line would be like their 512 Freeride, and that one's got a lot more speed, and not a lot more speed. I shouldn't put it that way. It's faster because you have to accumulate the skills from the green trails to help you advance on the next blue trail. So once you get good at doing the stuff that's on the green, and you realize how to pick up speed with your pumps and using the rollers and coming off the face of the jumps, then you start to realize that the speed that you need to clear the bigger jumps is a little bit faster, obviously, and the steepness of the jumps are a little bit steeper, the faces of them. And the tables are a little bit longer because now you have all this speed that you've accumulated, so the trajectory of the jump's going to throw you further. And then within that trail, that blue trail, there's also a kind of like a cannon jump where it's just a plank that goes up steadily um, at like a, I don't know, probably like a 45 degree, maybe something like that, 45, 50 degree. And then you just, there's a little gap in there, like maybe half a bike length. And then it comes down um, onto a backside of dirt. And then you continue on, and the trails get bigger. You might have to pedal into some of the jumps, but you can make them. And then on down the trail, there's it gets to go a little bit faster, and the jumps are a little bit what we call lippier, where the angle kind of shoots you more up than out. So you kind of have to develop the skill of realizing that you don't have to get shot out as much as you need to go up, plant the bike down, and it nose the bike down onto the transition of the backside of the table. The next one that they have, I think it's a black. It was called like Slingshot or something like that. Now this had a feature on it that I'm not real familiar with. It's a plank jump. Some of them call them a cannon jump or a log jump or something like that. And that's just it. It kind of continuously climbs up to about a 50, 60 degree angle, and then it just drops off. It just stops, and you launch off that. You clear a gap, which means that there's an area where there's no dirt, there's no wood or anything between you and the landing, and then there's a pile of dirt piled up with the backside transition that you land on. Now, those ones you hit with a little bit more speed, because as you're climbing, as you're going down the trail, and you approach this incline to get to the end of the plank, you're going to lose speed, and you really want to make sure you have all of your pedals in before you get to the feature. It's not one of those features that, just like any jump, you really don't want to be pedaling, into the face of the jump. You want to make sure that your pedals are nice and level, and then you get ready to do whatever action it is that you need to do the jump. Now, I think for the most part, you can really use the same action as you would use for a drop. You don't necessarily have to jump. If you have the speed that you need to create the space, or to go through the space that you need of the gap to hit the transition, there's not really any popping that you have to do. You're more, obviously, if you pop off of it, that's going to give you a little bit more insurance to ensure that you're going to make it to the transition, but that pop could also be too much to take you through the transition, and then you just end up going to flat. Now, depending on how high this cannon jump or log jump or is, that could be detrimental. You could land a flat and lose control and crash, right? So after you do this cannon jump, you have a wall ride that is it's a left bank wall ride. It's not very high, probably 6 or 7 feet, and then you transition off of that onto what is it? What would you call it? It's kind of like it's a wooden feature, and it's low risk, although it is a tall feature. Probably at the highest, I bet it's probably 9 feet, maybe 10 feet. But you come off this wall ride and you hit this wooden feature that is plenty wide for your tires. I wouldn't call it a skinny. It's probably at the narrowest, it's probably 2 feet wide, and then it gets wider as you go up the feature, and then it drops down into you drop off of it onto another platform, and then you have another small cannon jump that's maybe 5 feet, and then you come off of that, put in a couple of pedals, and then you have a pretty decent, what they call a creek gap jump. And that one's that one's not lippy at all. It's just it's almost like the same trajectory as a cannon jump. Now the cannon jump is something that I don't I haven't had the opportunity to have a lot of tries on something like that. I went to a what do you call it, a mountain bike park in Slinger, Wisconsin, the Little Swiss Bike Park, and they had a couple of them there. Um, and they had progressive ones. So they had, probably like a 2 foot, 4 foot, 6 foot, and like a 8 or 9 foot one, right? Like this, the last one was like really big. Anyways, I did like the 6 foot one, and yeah, it was okay. They just wasn't like my favorite feature because as you're coming up to these, they're steep, and like I said, you want to have all your pedals in before you get to these, and then they just kind of drop off. So the landing is pretty blind. And I think that's probably for me what scares me the most is not being able to see the landing until you're basically off the edge of it, right? And you can walk up it a bunch of different times, but until you're on your bike and on top of it, like it really doesn't give you a great perspective of how much higher that you are, on top of your bike. Anyways, so this cannon feature, I did one run up to it, and then I had a friend of mine tow me in. And if you don't know what tow in is, that's where you have somebody that's usually done the feature, a few times before. And what you try to do is follow them into the feature with the same speed so that you don't overshoot or undershoot, or you have less of a chance of doing either or, so that you can, it just helps give you confidence that you're going to have the right speed so that you can complete the feature. So I did one run up to it by myself, and then my friend Mike towed me in to the feature, and I was scared. I was pretty scared. But it's not something that's out of my abilities. Like it's really not. Like it's not that the gap of it is too far. It's not that the landing is rough or I don't know how to land it. It's just one of those features that I haven't done a bunch of times. So anyways, I followed my friend Mike in and hit it, and it was just smooth. I just matched his speed, came off of it. I didn't pop off of it. I just rode off of it basically like it was a drop, and went on the transition nice and smooth. And then the next feature, of course, is the wall ride. And I know how to do wall rides, especially shorter ones. There's still a wall ride at Spider Mountain that gets the best of me. But nonetheless, got the wall ride done, got the feature done, and then the next step is going to do the next cannon shot jump and then the creek gap jump. And after I got the drop, that was the hardest thing for me. Everything else is just like butter, like easy, like just one of those things that I don't have any fear of. Like I can see all the landings, there's no sketchiness, everything's built really nicely. And so then we end up doing we go back up to the top, we end up doing a run from top to bottom, and I did it on my first try. And man, like the stoke that you get whenever you complete a line that has especially that has a bunch of features, right? Like this thing, it has a couple of tabletops before it. It's got a really small whale tail, and then it's got a nice pedally section up to this cannon jump. I mean, it's probably only a bike length and a half gap from the cannon jump to the landing. And then the wall ride's nice and smooth. The feature up to the tall drop. I mean, everything went really good, right? So got that knocked out, and the next feature at this place called 512 Freeride is their 6-pack jumps. There's an A line and there's a B line, and you can kind of mix and match in between the two lines because they call it 6-pack because there's 6 jumps. Now the first jump, I was calling the price of entry because it's a really lippy jump into a steep downward landing. So you hit the jump, you nose into the landing, and you where you drop in from gives you more than enough speed, but there's a lot of commitment because you drop off the what is it? I don't know, the drop zone, I guess. So it's really high platform, and it's got a nice wide steep roller that goes into this first jump. So the the flight deck, maybe that's what they call it. I can't remember, but you're on top of this. You're on top of this. We're gonna call it the flight deck. You're on top of this flight deck, and you're dropping in, and the drop in's like maybe 8 foot to the bottom of the dirt, and then you have maybe another 12 feet before you enter into this first jump on six pack. And like I said, it's really lippy, and you land on a downside landing. So the first jump into it is pretty scary. I mean, how do I say it? Like I said, I was calling it the price of admission. I feel like if you're not willing to do that feature first, that jump first, and it's a black trail, then you probably shouldn't be doing the rest of them. And anyways, they do have a beeline for that first jump, and it's just a little hip jump, a little left hand hip jump, and then you have probably 30, I'm going to say 25 yards before you hit either of your second jump on this six pack. And all the jumps are really lippy. So you carry speed, and you hit the face of the jump, and you kind of let the jump send you in the trajectory that you need to come downside on the lips. And me personally, whenever it comes to that lippy of a jump, and then it being a gap, so it's a wooden kicker into a dirt landing. Like, I do like that, but they are all gap jumps. Every one of them are gap jumps after the first one. So finding the speed was my difficult part. So I did the price of admission twice, and I got real comfortable with it after the third time, or after the second time. I got real comfortable with it. So I decided that I was going to follow my friend Mike in so that I can match his speed for the first jump on the A-line side of the six pack. So I went and I jumped up, did the first jump, and then I pedaled. I think what threw me off is that I couldn't gauge Mike's speed after the landing. So we both drop in, basically the same time. But I had, like I said, I didn't gauge his speed, and it seemed like he was going faster than me, so I pedaled to kind of catch up. Anyways, I ended up pedaling too much, and I hit the first jump to hit the A-line gap, which is probably, I'm going to say probably 20 feet-ish, something like that, on the A side gap, and I overshot it. I overshot it so much that when the trajectory probably shot me out 2 feet past the end of the landing, and it had me going in nose first, which normally is fine if you're coming down on the landing. Like, you kind of want to come down nose first, which is fine, except that I wasn't on the landing. I was a couple of feet past it, and I seen the landing pass by. I held on to the handlebars. I let the bike take the most of the damage, and then I ate shit. And I had elbow pads on, and I had pants on too. That was really nice, and knee pads. But my elbow pads scooted all the way up past my elbow, leaving me a nasty road rash. Anyways, make the long story short here. I got up, cleaned myself off, went back, dressed the wound, put my elbow pad back on, and I was determined that I was going to beat this beat this line. I was going to complete this line. However you want to put it, beat it, win it, finish it, complete it. So I went back up and started off just working on the B line, because I was spooked from the A line because I thought I was going fast enough and ended up going too fast. So just decided that I was going to work on the B line. So I did them one at a time. And nobody gave me any shit about it. Everybody coached me out, coached me into it. Trying to help me keep the stoke alive. And I was able to, throughout that day, I was able to complete the B line side of the 512 free ride. Now, the thing that's really nice about being able to overcome being injured, not being able to do, or not stopping where you got hurt, getting back on the horse and just getting right back to it, is that you get over the fear of what had happened, and it helps, I think, keep you from having a mental block. Makes you stronger, right? Anyways, after that weekend, we decided that we were going to go to Reveille Peak. Basically the same group of guys. So we went to Reveille Peak, and at Reveille Peak, it's a mountain bike park. They have a lot of different trails, a lot of enduro trails, a lot of cross-country trails, and they have probably the best jump lines in Texas. Like, they do a lot of really good work, and I could spend a lot of time rambling about that. But what I want to get at is progression, right? So they have this jump line called Dos Verdes, and it's a very to me it's a very mild jump line. It's a blue jump line. It's got some high speed jumps on it. Everything's tabled. There's no gaps. They got some good berms in between there. Like, it's a really good, like, you should really get bored of doing that before you step up to the next jump line, which I want to talk about now, which is the El Patron. On El Patron, the jumps basically get bigger and faster as you go down the line. I should count how many jumps there are. So we decided that we were going to kind of break it up. We were going to do the first half of the jumps and then do the second half of the jumps. Well, we ended up getting to the point where the first half of the jumps were coming pretty regularly. The last one we were calling the gatekeeper, because it seemed like that one, both me, my friend Mike, and my friend Steven kept on casing it just a little bit, like just not having quite enough to get there. Anyways, we were getting pretty regular with that, and then the guys started building this, or the guys that were building this new jump line, I don't even think it has a name yet, were starting to ride it. Now, this jump line, first of all, it was really windy that day too. Luckily for us, at El Patron, the wind was to our backs, but on this other jump, the wind was kind of in our face. Anyways, this new trail needed to be ridden on and packed down so that, as you ride it, the more riders, the more wheels, the more weight that's on it, the more it's going to get packed down, the faster it's going to get, the less effort you're going to have to put into it in order to make these runs. Anyways, they have on this jump trail two of my favorite features, which are called step-ups. One of them's about I'm going to guess it's probably like a 6-foot step up, and it's got a really steep face to it, and then it's got a nice berm at the back of it, and then probably, what would we say, probably like a 15-foot gap after that, or not gap, a 15-foot table after that. It's very steep, like it sends you up really good. And then right after that, there is another step up, and this one's even steeper, and it's probably just a hair short, or maybe like a 7-foot step up from lip to landing. Anyways, a lot of fun, a lot of fun. When we had to pedal into everything, and but everybody was pretty much able to do it. I was able to clear both step ups once that day, and it was towards the end. I think we'd finally got enough wheels on the ground, but with the wind, I think that was also holding us back. So we go back over to El Patron and we do those lines. We feel like we got a little bit more confidence. We're pedaling into them a little bit harder, and we're starting to clear those things like on the regular. So we're pretty much done with the day, and we come back the following weekend. This is 1 weekend away, and we were able to get back to Patron, and we all kind of warmed up on Dos Verdes again. Everything was running really well. There was next to no wind. I don't think the temperature reached over 65 degrees that day. It was really, really good. Anyways, me and my friend Steven were bound and determined that we were going to finish the El Patron line. So after we did one warm-up lap on Dos Verdes, we came back to El Patron and started warming up on that, and it was running really, really well, really good. Like, it was running fast. I had good tire pressure. The lips were sharp. Everything just felt really good. And except for the gatekeeper, we are still just kind of baby casing it a little bit on the gatekeeper. Anyways, I had mentioned last week to my friend Steven that we should probably, we should just start committing to knowing that we're going to have to maybe put in a pedal or two after the gatekeeper, and then to start finishing the line. So this next run up, the very next run up, Steven says, hey, let's just take it all the way, as far as we can. And, we'll pedal through the sections that we have to. So Steven drops in, I go in right behind him. And that's what we do. We get to the gatekeeper, we both case it. I actually get a little bit further over to the right coming off of it. But screw it, I pedaled into the next one, kind of landed on top of that, like almost 50-50 cased it, and didn't care. I was like, whatever, I'm just going to pedal into it. And so we pedaled into it, and we made it to the next 3-4 jumps, which is there's one fast rolling table, 2 fast rolling table, and then I think it's a step up right after that. Like, it's a long step up. And then it goes into the really steep kind of step up jump, which is El Patron. But it's not a step up. It's a table. It's a really long table, probably like a 30-foot table. But the run out's like really, really long. So you can't really overshoot it. But we made it to the roller. And my friend Steven hit the brakes because he said he had gotten a gust of wind before that. So he pulled the brakes, but man, I was in it. I thought we were doing it. I felt really good on that run. And so we made the commitment to run back up to the top, or take our bikes back up to the top, and let's just get this thing done, man. And I was stoked and nervous at the same time. We got up to the top, we rested for a little bit, and then we bombed down that trail. And I cased the gatekeeper and the one after that way worse than the first try, but I didn't care. I was bound and determined, so I pedaled into everything else that I needed to. And then hitting the everything else after that I pedaled into, I cleared. It was great. It was really, really good. But going into the step up, I felt like I was going too fast, but I had never hit that El Patron jump before, that 30-foot table. So I figured, the landing's like really long and wide for sure. There's no way I'm going to overshoot it, but my commitment wasn't quite there. So whenever I popped off the top, it wasn't a full comfortable jump, I should say. So I ended up kind of dead sailoring a little bit and landing nose heavy. And kind of like I did at 512 Freeride, but I just, I tried to keep my handlebar straight. I came down, My back wheel came down, and I went through the roughest section that you could. Like, there's a section in between El Patron and the drop zone, and I was able to squeeze through there without having a rock catch me or flip me off my bike. I mean, it was absolutely insane. So I almost died. I mean, almost died. Got to the bottom. Where me and freaking Steven are like hooting and hollering, and I think I was more stoked that I didn't die than that I actually made it to the bottom of the trail. But I know that there's a lot of that there. Anyways, I got a video of the whole thing. It was absolutely insane. Anyways, so we knew we didn't clean that. We knew that we made it for the first time, and now I have a good idea of how much speed I need to have. So me and Steven go right back up to the top and go to hit El Patron immediately. So we get back up, we walk our bikes back up there. We're talking about how good it was and how shitty it was that we cased everything, but we were able to pedal through it. We still made it. Like, the Stoke was legit. It was just really, really good. So then we get to the top, we rest up a little bit, and we pedal into it, El Patron. And again, I case not the gatekeeper, but the next one for whatever reason. I didn't care, pedaled into it, and ended up feeling like I had too much speed to hit the last jump on El Patron. And so I did. I kind of did a little bit of a comfort brake check, which was perfect because I came off the lip and I popped really good. I came down on the backside of it, like just buttery smooth. Like I was, and now the Stoke for me was like real. Like now I feel like I completed it. I got it done, and I was able to hit that last jump. Like, and I had been trying, like, I've been here in Texas for a year. And since, I don't know, probably like the second month that I was here, like El Patron's been there the whole time. So I've been looking at it, and I've only ever done like the first 4 or 5 jumps. And then I got a little bit further with my friend Steven and Mike. And now I finally got this thing done. But this took me almost a year, over a year. I take that back. It took me over a year to actually complete this, jump trail. And I felt like I mentioned before, like, I'm a pretty advanced rider, advanced pretty quick from 2019 to today with being able to go to all the mountain bike parks and do all the features and be thrown in a bunch of different scenarios. But I just didn't make it all the way down this trail, and finally I did. And so we're stoked. We're stoked. We got that done. We went back over to, now since we have that done, we went back over to the new jump trail. Like I said, they don't really have a name for it, but there's these step ups, right? And me and Steven are just hitting these things, like getting to the point where I feel like I can start like doing tables or, start to turn my bars and try to throw some whips out there. But it's starting to get easier. Like I'm actually, towards the end of the day, I was actually getting to the point where I didn't have to pedal after the first table. After the first table, I would get down to the bottom, I would pump twice, and then I would have just enough energy to pop up onto the first step up. And that felt really good, really, really good. Like, it's just being able to do all that progression in one day was sick, right? So me and Steven, they also have this large whale tail there, where it's probably a 5-foot-ish kicker into a probably 12-foot tall whale tail, and then it comes down. It's about 5 foot on the flat, and then of course it's a whale tail, so it has a kicker at the very end of it, with maybe like a 4 or 6 foot little table at the end to run out on. Anyways, same thing. I had been eyeing this thing up for over a year, and there's a feature at 512 Freeride that's pretty similar. It's more of like a lily pad, so it's got like a 5.5, maybe 6 foot kicker, and then you land flat on like the top of the tabletop, and then it has a drop immediately after that. So I mean, it's a black feature. It's a feature that's, you hit the kicker that sends you up to the top of this lily pad, and you're standing up there, probably 11, 12 feet, and then you're on top of your bike. So your head height, you're probably sitting at like 15 feet, and then you do this drop. So that helped prepare me for this, I felt. And, I'd been kind of eyeballing it up, and I told everybody, I was like, today's a day that I get on this freaking, I do this whale tail here at Reveille Peak, man. And, my friend Steven, he's all about it too. He's all about progressing and trying to get this stuff done too. So my friend Steven actually pedals into this thing without being towed in, because like we just have all of this like stoke. We have all this ambition to get this thing done. We have all this energy. We feel like we have the skill because we've been able to accomplish, so much today already. Like let's hit this whale tail. And so Steven goes into it by himself without being towed in, and he makes it just fine. I mean, he cases the top of it a little bit. I wouldn't say that he really cleared it, but he got it done without being towed in, and I thought that was pretty sick. He actually went into it twice. The first time he pedaled into it, and something happened on the jump before. He didn't feel comfortable, so he bailed. But then he just, he walked his bike back up to the drop-in area, dropped in, pedaled into it, and hit that shit, man. And I was stoked for him that he was able to do it, which gave me confidence, knowing that, if my friend Steven that I've done all this progression with today, if he can do it, like I can do it too, right? So I go up there, and there's another friend of ours, Greg. I would say he's definitely a more stylish rider, probably a little bit more advanced than both me and Steven. And he asked me if he wants me to tow him. If he asked me if I want him to tow me in. Earlier, Steven had asked Greg if if he could tow him in, and Greg, of course, said, "Yeah, for sure. I've done this thing 100 times. Let's do it." Anyways, for whatever reason, Steven couldn't wait, so he did it on his own. So now me and Greg are up there, and he's like, "You doing the whale tail?" Like, yeah. And he's like, "You want me to tow you in?" And part of me kind of wanted to do what Steven did without being towed in and just do it, because I had good confidence, like it wasn't out of my skill level that I could do it. But I was like, sure, let's go. So it was just that quick, and then Greg goes pedaling into it, and I'm trying to keep control, match his speed, and Greg comes over it with a little bit of style and kind of whips the tail out, and at the same time, he had too much. And ended up overshooting the landing, and his front tire basically landed at the bottom, which kind of threw his bike off to the right. And of course, again, remember, he's towing me in, so I am right behind him. I'm right on his butt. So he is literally crashing on the jump that I'm in the air. I have no control of now. I'm in the air, and I can see him crashing to my right. And he jumps off, like him and his bike like totally get out of the way. I miss him and his bike on the landing. I jump off, like I was stoked that I went over the top, and I felt my tires come down. And I'm like, yeah, with stoke. And then I see him like jumping off, and I'm like, oh crap, oh shit, and I bail out. I get off my bike real quick. I run up there, and my poor buddy, whenever he jumped off, somehow landed on his ankle wrong, and broke his ankle, like literally broke his ankle. Sucked, man. It really, really sucked. I didn't know what to do. We called for help. We got help for him right away. He went in, and we got video of everything. I sent him the video. It sucked, dude. It sucked that he got hurt like that, and he was towing me in. And I don't know exactly how to feel about it. Like he would have done it anyways. Like if I didn't ask to be towed in, like he probably wouldn't have done it, because we had been hitting the bigger jump line that comes off of that same whale tail feature. I don't know. I kind of I felt bad that because like I said, I almost didn't ask him, or I almost told him, no, I'm good. I got this. But anytime somebody offers to tow you in, it's kind of one of those things where like, yeah, let's do it. Let's go, and then, you do party laps. Like we were doing party laps on the other stuff. Like just, I don't know, just kind of a freak accident. And like, like he said, he did it 100 times, but I talked to him later and he said that, he pedaled into that where he probably didn't have to, well, obviously he didn't have to pedal. And that's kind of what sent him a little deep, on the transitions, which put his, which he bottomed out and rolled off, and sucks, man. That sucks. But I got back on my bike and I wanted to do it again. In the mountain bike world, a lot of people like to try to do, these new features, 3 times to say that you've gotten it, like you completed it. Anyways, I didn't do it 3 times, but I did get back on my bike after we got Greg squared away. I got back on my bike and I pedaled in and do it, and I made it clean, no problem. And like I said, like the progression through these past 3 weeks have been like just amazing to be able to knock out all of Patron, the step up features that they have there, and the wall rides, the drops, the lily pad, 6-pack at 512 free ride. And now finally getting the whale tail feature out of the way. And the next thing I want to do is, after the whale tail feature, there's this right hand hip jump that comes down, and then you pedal into another cannon jump into off of a boat, which is pretty dope. And then what's after that? There's another 20-foot pretty good cinder. So there's still stuff at Reveille Peak that I haven't mastered. Also at Reveille Peak, they have these 5 drop zones, and I've done 3 of the 5, and the next one on my list is number 4, but I'll probably never do number 5 because it's so high that I've only ever seen people do it on a downhill bike, so probably won't make it to that one. Not to mention the risk of that one, it just looks crazy, absolutely insane. What else is there? I mean, there's plenty of trails that I've done, but those features, just getting all these features knocked out, so whenever you go to a bike park that's bigger, that has all these features, you're not scared to do. And I think that we're lucky here in Texas that we have people that are willing to build these features and make these features, so that we can get better as riders for not only our area, but whenever you go to visit other places, so that you can do these features too. So the next thing that I have to knock out, man, I have got to get over the fear of the wall ride at at Spider Mountain. I've been there, once a month since I've had my season pass, at least, or sorry to say once a month, probably say 4 times a month since I've had my season pass. Although I haven't been there in about a month, but up to that point. Anyways, on Recluse, they have the Texas wall ride, and that thing wadded me up and spit me out, and I've had kind of a little mental block there ever since. So I really need to get over that too. But that's for another day. Let's see, where are we at with our the other day? 48 minutes. I talked about that. Features and progressions and stuff like that. And what I really wanted to get into, and you know what, I'm going to try to fast forward a little bit through this, because on Pink Bike, they got the baller versus budget deal, and I'm at the point now where I have talked to you guys about it, and we're at the baller versus budget contact points, and that's where they replace the grips, the handlebars, the stems, seat, and seat post. And of course, they give Henry the cheap of everything. And they had given him a $9 stem, $20 handlebars, an $85 seat dropper seat post. And I don't know if they mentioned how much they paid for the seat, but Jason, on the other hand, ended up getting the most expensive stem I've ever heard of. $280 for the stem, full carbon. Stem and handlebars. The handlebars were another $170. Like just crazy to think of how much money that is. So then Henry's grips, they paid $12 for his grips. Um, they got Jason $120 rev grips, and they go through, they put all this stuff on their bikes, and they talk about how good or how crappy this stuff is. And oh, Jason's pedals, they end up giving him the Stamp Brother like nines or something like that. They're $300 pedals. They're like literally, I think they were gold plated. And then his SQ Lab seat was $280 for Jason's seat. Oh my gosh. Oh, and they gave him a reserve, or not a reserve, an Axis reverb dropper seat post, which is electric, so there's no cable. That's sick. I want one of those really bad myself. I think that's great. And actually the whole Axis system I think is legit, like dropping two cables and going wireless. Like I'm in on that. I can't wait until I can afford to get something like that. I'm just going through my notes here. Again, I'm kind of fast forwarding through because I just kind of want to get this out there, because they're already, this is like episode 3, and I think they're on like episode 6, and I haven't had a chance to really sit down and visit with you guys about it. So Henry mentions, okay, so they get all this stuff installed on their bikes, and they go out to go ride, and the first thing they talk about is the seat and the seat post. Now, the seat post that they had given Henry is an $85 externally routed seat post that he could only route through his top tube. And I think it was only like 100 millimeter of dropper seat post, which he says that, it seems like it works really well. So on their climb up, they're talking about that. And Henry had asked Jason what he thought about his seat. And he said he was on the fence about the seat because it wasn't really fitting him very good. And it seemed like his shorts were getting caught on the corners because there's like, sharp edge corners. And he asked Henry what he thought about his seat, and Henry actually really liked his seat. He thought it was like a couch cushion. He thought, and it does look like a couch cushion. It looks horrendous, but I think they both agreed at the end that they would both rather have Henry's seat over Jason's seat. So let's see, fast forward. Oh, they were talking about their pedals, and then so Henry's pedals were like these really cheap oil slick pedals that he was only able to put one on because something was wrong with the threads on the other one. He wasn't able to take it out, or maybe it was the bolt was stripped out or something. I don't remember, but he could only put one of the pedals on. So he said it's an improvement over the other pedals, but he was only able to use one of them, as to where of course Jason's got $300 pedals on. So big difference there. I'm sure they are way lighter and way smoother, and then they have the really nice pins to help keep your feet in place. Where are we at here? Oh yeah, so they get to the ride down, and they're talking about their upgrades, right? And Henry posted a good point. He had a $9 stem, $20 handlebar, and it held up. But I'm with Henry. Like, I would be scared to ride a $9 stem and $20 handlebar. Like, it's like not only are they doing a budget bike on Henry, but it's like they're just finding the cheapest stuff that they can find on the internet, rather than actually giving him a budget. And I hope that somebody, or later on, maybe they actually do a budget bike where they give both bikes an actual budget, where one is slightly more than the other one is, or maybe your budget bike is half of what you spend on your baller bike. I don't know. I would have been like Henry. I would have been just as scared to ride a $9 stem and $20 handlebar. that if they were going to bend or hold up or even snug, tighten down on your stem, I don't know. Anyways, what did they do? So anyways, contact points. So they seem like, as far as the contact points, everybody got along with everything, and the only other thing was like on the rev grips. Jason mentioned that he didn't really notice a big difference, other than they felt odd that they had, you know, that he had to put so much trust in that they would stay where they were at because they would move, and he didn't really feel the benefit of those handlebar, or the handlebar grips, because where they were at, they weren't really going very fast, and it didn't pose the ability to use what rev grip is supposed to be known for, which is, you know, helping with the chatter and the hand pump and things like that. So other than that, that was the contact point episodes, and next week I will try and touch on either their next week's episode. If you guys haven't watched it already, is, I'm going to tell you, is about suspension, and that's kind of my favorite one so far, because I feel like the suspension is going to make the most difference. So if you get a chance, check out Pink Bike, Baller versus Budget episodes, and let me know what you think. I'm having a blast watching them, and I think it's a great idea on what they're doing, although I think there's things that they could change, but I guess we'll see. Anyways, until then, guys, peace out. Thanks for listening. Go ride your bike.